Hey, everybody, welcome back to Red Road Paranormal. I am one of your two hosts. My name is Christina Bloom. I am of Alaskan Native descent, but I am not tribally affiliated. I am also a psychic medium and a member of the Adirondack Park Paranormal Society. And this is my co host, Bobby Resnick Calkins.
Hi everyone, it's your favorite redneck here. A member of the Stockbridge Munsee tribe, Band of Mohicans. I'm a paranormal investigator, cryptid investigator with the Wisconsin-based team, Cryptids Anomaly in the Paranormal Society. And today we have a very special friend of ours back with us today, Mr. Shawn Stevens. Take it away, Shawn.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shawn Stevens. I am Native American, enrolled into the Stockbridge Munsee Band of Mohicans, but I also draw descent from Montauk, Abenaki, um, Munsee, a lot of East Coast natives, mixture of a lot of things there. Props out to all my ancestors. I'm also of African American descent and Irish descent, and I like to through my tribe, I sat on a language and culture board for over 20 years, been past chair of the board, part of our historical preservation committee. What else have I done? I'm a historic preservation monitor, which means when anytime there's disturbances or stuff where construction's going on, that I go out there in certain places where I go out and kind of poke around, so to speak, to see if there's anything to deal with our artifacts or bodies that might be of our people. I am part of ongoing projects in reclaiming the Mohican language. I also speak a bit of Munsee and other Algonquian languages. I like to consider myself a helper to the people. I have no other titles than helping, because it kind of, in a nutshell, describes what I do, and it also reminds me that that's all that I am.
Well,
So I agree.
welcome back to the show. We're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Excellent. Bobby, you look like you were going to say something and I cut you off again. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, you're good. You're good.
Awesome. So I was told that you know something about the white buffalo calf prophecies. And I was interested in that because when Miracle was born, wow, when was that, in the 1990s? I lived right down the road from there. So I was able to meet her several times. They kind of got used to me just wandering around talking to Miracle as I was going out to the farm there. But um, I would love to hear about that.
Okay. Well, as in anything, I always say I only know a little. I'm always willing to share what I know. Um, the white buffalo calf prophecy. It starts out with a teaching that was given to the Lakota people way beyond the inception of Christianity and other religions that we have today. And in short, the white buffalo calf woman is what we say in Algonquin a manadu. Manadu is a higher form spirit, like an angel. You would consider it's not like a spirit we have in us, but it's a higher being spirit, an angel, so to speak. But she visited her people, thousands of years ago, to give them sacred teachings and ways of life, and to have a spiritual way of understanding their connectedness to not only to family, community, their culture, the land, and the universe. And she gave them ways. She gave them ceremonies. She gave them ceremonies to follow. A lot of them were, we'll say, the pipe ceremony, sweat lodge ceremony, name giving ceremony, the ceremony of adoption. Many ceremonies that the people were to follow and learn how to live in a good spiritual, indigenous, connected way. Now, there was a warning that there was a time that where some of the people they fall away from the teachings. Not only our people, but people all over the world. All the world's children, whether you're from Europe, Africa, Asia, Native America, North and South America. We all had our indigenous peoples' teachings and our connections and how we viewed the earth and the universe and such. And the teachings reflect that one day mankind is going to fall away from their original teachings, from their indigenous teachings, and that there's going to be a sign. There'll be a sign that is to be a reminder to people of those indigenous teachings, just like White Buffalo Calf Woman gifted to her people. One day the world becomes sick. People are going to come away from their teachings, and bad things are going to be happening all around. Now you look at a lot of the world that's been happening since then, with all the, I don't know, was there been 1,000 wars, if not even worse, the world wars. There's been major pollution. You look on TV, you just type up pollution, and your mouth will drop, on what we're going through today, even what you saw 50 years ago. There's oil spills, poisoning of land, poisoning of the waters, poisoning of the people. There's um, nuclear dumping going on, volatile chemicals that are being dumped in the ocean, being buried in the land, being tucked away somewhere, you know, and you're going to start seeing things, even with the deforestation, cutting fire down way too many trees. The trees are like the lungs of Mother Earth. We get so much through photosynthesis, and what we breathe, they exhale, and what we exhale, they breathe. It's kind of a symbiotic relationship there.
Yep, we gotta
You know,
live hand in hand.
right. And you're going to see climate change. I mean, some will say climate change is natural, which it is, but you're seeing it at an accelerated rate right now, where it's happening really. Usually it happens over tens of thousands of years. We've seen climate change happen in just over the last 100 years. When you start looking at polar ice caps and just the changes of everything that has been so accelerated since the industrial revolution, what they call, and burning of fossil fuels and other things that are putting carcinogens into the atmosphere, changing everything. So we've seen changes coming. We've seen it for so long, and nobody really was saying much about it. Well, there a lot of people were sorry. So people were saying such about it, but with our Native American cultures and our ceremonies and our ways of life, that had been pushed behind closed doors because of oppression from organized religions and organizations that were trying to do away with Native American indigenous culture. And what happened in 1992 was when Miracle was born, the first and only known white buffalo calf ever born in Native American and American history, and written history and oral history. First time. It's never happened before. It was huge. People came from all over the world. There it was in Janesville, Wisconsin, to
Yes,
the
they
height.
did.
They came from all over. Even if they didn't get to see her, they left roses, they left prayer ties, they left gifts, they left so much because of this prophecy that had happened. Now, this isn't one of those Nostradamus quatrains where you could pinpoint in almost any generation and any time era and very loose. No, it said when the white buffalo calf was born. That was the sign. That was the sign to come. And it's the sign not only for the Lakota people that they need to get back to their indigenous teachings, but for people all over the world that we need to get back to our indigenous teachings. And what
Yes.
are our indigenous teachings? It's your connection, and all the people who are indigenous. Indigenous doesn't necessarily mean Native American people. If you go outside America, indigenous means something to every different country you go to. Indigenous means like those who have that connection and understanding where they're from. Now, we can draw a map and have 20 people of various backgrounds point in different directions where they're from. But if we're sitting on the moon and we point where we're from, we all point from the same place, and that's this Earth. We're all here. We're all family. And one of the good things about science lately is that they're starting to admit what Native American and other indigenous peoples have been saying for thousands and thousands of years, that we're all connected. Not only just all human beings, but all animals, all plants, all even fungus, anything that has life, the the minerals that are in the earth. It's all we're all connected. We all come from that same tree of life. And our ancestors, when they said that, the stars are our elders, our grandparents, our grandfathers and grandmothers. It's just another way of saying what Carl Sagan said, is that we're all made of stardust. We all
Hmm.
come from the same source. We're all the same, you know. And so with this indigenous mindset is understanding, that and the respect of having that. And the thing with indigenous peoples is that they had ceremony, all of them. Now, one of our native teachings, I want to say it's Ojibwe teaching, that originally when man was put man on the people on the earth, that he left the animals up to take care of us. And the animals took care of mankind. But the animals grew discontent after a while because they were saying, geez, I'm getting sick of taking care of these people. They can't hunt, they can't see, they can't smell, they can't do anything. We got to do everything. They become lazy and they become obnoxious and they're telling us everything and they just want to have all this control. Screw these people. Why are we having to take care of them? You know? And so the animals all had a meeting one day, and there's like, yeah, let's get rid of them, And so I talked to the spirit of the forest, the spirit of the land, Missing, and they asked Missing where to go to. Matter of fact, I'm going to back up. This is a Lenape teaching, Missing, spirit of the forest. And they told Missing to go to the creator and ask him permission, her, sorry, gender, neutral, permission that we can get rid of, they can get rid of mankind, because their laziness, because their obnoxiousness, their disrespect, and all of that for everything that they're a part of, and get that permission. So Meesinga went to the creator and asked the creator that permission, and creator said, no, but I think I know a way of fixing this. How we're going to fix this is we're going to give mankind ceremony, because through ceremony you learn respect. Through ceremony, you understand the connections that you have with every living being, or everything that you see around you, everything. It's respect, admiration, and how you need to act and take these things as gifts, not as things that you deserve, that they're for your own personal use, to use and abuse in any way you want. And so we sing, or the creator gifted mankind, all mankind, ceremony. And all of our peoples, whether you're, like I said, from Europe, Asia, Africa, the North or South America, all of us had ceremonies, and giving that respect and that understanding our connection to the earth, the animals, the water, to everything that we see and we hear, and that we use those in respect, and that what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves. It was basically your first form of environmental, what's the word I'm looking for? Environmental sustainability, you
Okay.
know. And a lot of our teachings, and how we would choose our villages, and we were cut down trees to make villages, and how we would move and let those places reheal, and go back to, and the nutrients going back to those fields, and going around and replanting things, and how when we go and get our medicines, we don't take it all, everything we see. We make sure that we leave enough that keep generations, so our next generation, or the next seasons, and the next set of generations to come will have something there. We don't hoard those things. We got to make sure that there's enough. So it's the first form of environmental sustainability.
Yeah, you
Well,
take
then,
only what you need, right?
right, only what you need, and leave the rest for the future. Leave the rest for the bees and those little helpers, the pollinators that we need. They need that stuff too, and we need what they do. Understanding this connection, we all had this connection. but through organized religion, through organized governments and enforcing different ways all over the world. All indigenous people have undergone the cultural trauma of having their languages taken away, their original teachings taken away, and all forced under one way, no matter which way where you're from or which different ways, under one for obedience and for power. And through that, we've lost a lot of people have lost their ceremony. They've lost their way of being able to connect with the earth and everything, with all the universal energies and powers that be. They've lost it, but they still feel it inside. They know it's there. They know somewhere it's there. That's why sometimes when non-native people walk up to native people drumming on drums, whether it's Native American or African or Asian, something resonates inside of them, you know, and the energy of the universe is vibration. We are made of vibration,
Hmm.
so something that there's a connection there, whatever it is, you know.
It's
And
medicine.
so, pardon?
It's medicine.
Medicine, absolutely, absolutely. And so a lot of times natives will get upset thinking that people are trying to take away from what they have or they're teaching. And it's not, they're trying, a lot of people really just trying to find their own way, and
I
something
agree.
that resonates with them with our native teaching is because something that line that generational line they have goes all the way back to their ancestors that did the same thing, had the same resonating experiences and vibrations and energies that they know that they should have today. Okay. But so many of us have gone away from it. Even Native American people, so many natives people. I'm not saying you can't just say Native people all got it together. No, no, they don't. There's a lot that still need to get back to their ways, of ceremonial ways of respect and recognizing all that which is your family and all which that is what is you as well. Now, White Buffalo Calf woman came and gave her people their teachings, and she knew one day that the people would fall away. Not only her people, but other people, and that sign would come that everybody would not mistake. They would recognize that sign. And so when Miracle was born, and I actually happened to live in Janesville, Wisconsin for quite a few years in my younger days. I was actually born there. I like to make that connection, but it doesn't make me special. So uh, I knew the Heider's son. I went to school with them. We were on the wrestling team together, football team. Really great people. People like to say things about non-natives and how, all the nasty things that I should say natives like to say that. But you couldn't find a better white family anywhere. They were wonderful people.
That was
Very
my
beautiful.
experience of them as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
very beautiful, wonderful, wonderful people that you would love to have as your neighbor and your friends and you have your backing. you know. And for this sign, just that sign of it own, being born not on a Native American reservation or anywhere, born to a non-native tribe, is to say that this sign is for everybody. It's for
Yep.
everybody to take notice. Shit's not going right. Okay. As
Mhm.
that was foretold. And the sign is it was very clear. And the meaning's clear. We need to get back to our indigenous ways. Doesn't mean going and living off into, shacks and giving up socks and underwear and stuff like that. So, which is thankful. I have jokes, but I gotta leave jokes here.
Hey,
those,
time to
those
get
ones,
back to the loincloths, right?
right?
Yeah, we can
But
honor
it's
we can honor the ancient ways and still live in the modern world. Yeah.
right. And we as Native American people will tell you as well as anyone that we've always adapted to our environment. That was always a part of our ways, adapt to your environment. And our environment now today is much different than what we had, but we have ways of honoring and holding our indigenous ways in today's sense. In today's sense. You know, it's evolving. It's about evolving, or natural selection, however, but you must adapt. And we've done that for tens of thousands of years beforehand, always adapting to our surroundings and utilize the best we can for our own health, our family's health, our community's health, everyone's health, the earth's health, all of it. And so these ways are sacred ways. They're very important, and when you get that understanding that the earth is a living being and that we are all a part of that living being, it opens it up a little bit more. All this pollution, this dumping of volatile chemicals and all these oil spills and all this stuff, it's really making the earth sick. And in making the earth sick, we make ourselves sick. Okay, Chernobyl. That land is burnt for 20,000 years, they estimate. You know, you can't live there, and the world and the exponential populations that are growing is becoming a much smaller world now, you know, and for what we need to do as a people is like our ancestors, for one, having that ceremony, and understanding the respect that we need to have outwardly and inwardly for all living creatures and all things we deem living and non-living. Respect. Pretty easy, you
Yeah.
know. But it doesn't matter if you're Native American or if you're Celtic, Nordic, African, Asian, and everyone else. We all have those teachings that were very similar. And our teachings as Native Americans, very few teachings that I've seen are meant for Native Americans only. It's meant for human beings, for humans.
I agree 100%. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. There are few ceremonies, songs, or things that are meant solely for that particular Native American tribal people, but none of those are things I've ever shared. But the vast majority of indigenous teachings and culture are meant for human beings, not for anybody to hold on to hoard on to, because as Native Americans and the traditional ones, in a sense, we know very well, even though we can see these things that are going bad, that we can't make this change all on our own. We can't, and
No.
we can't go out there and change it by telling other people to get to the back of the bus, basically. We
Right.
have to We've been told to share other prophecies, Native American prophecies that basically said, one day the people are going to come and ask because they don't know it anymore. They're gonna want to know, and it's up to us to share that with them. They need it, and the world needs it. So, white buffalo calf, even though the story is more in depth, on how it is, but the meaning of the whole thing and how it came to fruition. In Janesville, Wisconsin, off Native American to, like I said, the whitest family I ever met, and I don't mean that in a bad way. They're very light skinned. So color doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's that
Yeah.
we're all family, and we all need to get back to cultural, our indigenous teachings. Most of all, ceremony, because ceremony, it the number one thing they teach you in ceremony, respect for everything.
Yeah.
That's why we need ceremony. That's why so many of these other people, I've been offered to come to many places and do blessings and such, and some of these places had no clue, about ceremony. And ceremony it's a wide variety. It doesn't mean it's all in depth, like sweat lodge and things like that. Ceremony can just be putting down some tobacco or an offering to the creator, to your spirits, to the higher beings, and going to these places and just showing them a little bit, they were so amazed because they know in their lives they don't have that. They were so taken and moved because something inside of them resonates and says this is how things should be done. not sitting in the back of the bus and always need a Native American to come and do it, but this is something that we all need to do. We
Yeah.
all need to do this stuff, you know. Um, One of my favorite, I say mentor, but I guess I should say I'm a fan of, is Chief Avril Looking Horse, and he is of the Lakota people. And when the White Buffalo Calf woman came and she gave all their teachings, and she also gave the pipe, sacred pipe, to the people. He is the modern day carrier of that very pipe that Lakota, that White Buffalo Calf woman brought. And if you ever look him up, you can find him on YouTube and many other places. His message is so wonderful. It's so wonderful. It way over outshines what I'm sharing here today, even so many ways. And if that man, the holder of that pipe and the holder of that teachings, can stand up and say, we all need to get back to our ways. Sure, there is such thing as cultural appropriation, but you don't need to culturally appropriate anything to do ceremony, you know. And that's just speaking from your heart, where ceremony is prayer, it's music, it's dancing. All of those things are ceremony, you know. And giving a feasting and giving of food, spirit plates, putting offerings out there as parts of ceremony. You know, we all have it within ourselves to do, you know, and we can do them in our own way. Even when you separate all the tribes, so many tribes within themselves have different ways. Depends on your clan or your family or who you are, you know. And unfortunately, you have a lot of people, even within tribes, who are trying to quash any type of traditional ways coming back because of the intergenerational trauma that they went through, you know, art that we've all been through, that hasn't healed yet, that hasn't come to say, oh, this is the stuff that's been put on our people to keep us in check. Because if we're miserable all the time, we'll never be a threat to those powers that be anymore, who want to have control over us, who want to control what we eat, drink, think, believe in, everything, you know, to have power and control. And that's why so many people are miserable, because you don't. Yeah, I don't want to talk down about any type of religions or anything. I always say, if you want to meet the creator, you want to meet the spirits, you can't do it sitting in a bench having somebody tell you about it. You got to get out there and meet yourself. And once you start that journey, that it'll be revealed to you, you know. And once you start seeing everything, everyone as your family, you can trace, you might not be able to, but through genetics, you can trace every level person, every animal, every plant, everything back to the same tree of life. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
there is no us and them. There is only us. And we've forgotten that over thousands of years, you know, but the time has come. If we're going to create something good for the next 7 generations and beyond, we got to get back to those teachings, or at least ideals of recognizing indigenousness, our everyone's indigenousness. You know,
I completely agree. And just kind of adding to this conversation, I had a conversation with someone earlier where, you know, in this is kind of permeating like all cultures at this point, where people are getting down on the younger generations, but it is the Gen Zs and those guys who are saying, you know what? We don't need McMansions. We don't
Well,
need all this fancy stuff to live our lives. I'm going to start growing a garden, you know? And so it's those kinds of things that they are through this whole ascension process, and that younger generation bringing back a lot more of not just ceremony but simpler ways of life in general.
getting back
absolutely.
to their roots.
Yeah. You know, what people deem, a lot of people deem today as success, was looked down upon people back in the day,
Oh
to
yeah.
amass huge fortune, more for me, less for other people. I'm sure that any billionaire out there has had to step on quite a few people to make the money they had.
You know,
You know, to make more than they'll ever need, and to see people going without, skinny little kids starving, even here in America, you know. And I always like to try to share even I share a lot of non-native philosophies on my path too. I like to quote Socrates a lot. That you should question everything. You think you
Yeah.
know everything, you really need to question everything. Everything your parents taught you, everything your teachers taught you, your spiritual people taught you, your own belief system, everything. You need to question it. And two of things will happen. One, you'll either get closer to, you'll verify that what you believed in is true, or two, you might learn something different, something new. And I'd rather learn something that's true rather than carry on something, something I felt before because I'm too embarrassed to admit I might have been wrong. And
Right.
you don't have to
Right.
look at it as being wrong. You don't have to look at it as being wrong either. You just got to be able to let your beliefs evolve, you know,
Yep.
to adapt and evolve. You don't have to say you were wrong, because that was your truth back then. Truths change. They do, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So being able to adapt and I see, and like you said, yeah, I see this younger generation that say no, no. Look what you've left for us.
Yep.
Back in the day, we could go out and take care of ourselves. 60 years ago, we could have gone out, we could have quit school, went out, got a job, bought a home, car, took care of our family and everything. Now we can't even live on two income uh, families. It's
Right.
Yeah.
taken so much from us. It's like we need something different. The way things have been going, we can't do it anymore. Something different has to be done. Apparently, what you old people been doing ain't working. You know,
Well,
you
exactly.
know,
That's exactly what I've been hearing, and like there are knitting clubs now with people in their 20s knitting and crocheting and sewing and getting back to taking care of ourselves more than what we as in our Gen X generation and boomer generation has been doing.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
that seems to be I go a lot of places, talk to a lot of people, so that's what I'm bringing into the conversation here. That seems to be across the board. Like that's across income levels, that's across um, ethnic barriers, that's across all different kinds of cultural things where the people in their 20s and early 30s are going, yeah, that's not really working for us anymore. We want to live. We don't want to just finance
Yep.
existence.
Right. You know, there's just so many things, and I don't know how they would start. If they just start in backyards or whatever. One is critical thinking.
Mhm.
You know, critical thinking for you, that's huge. And other ways that you can get around things. I mean, we were never taught. I was never, in school. They didn't teach us about credit or
Nope.
how to, start a business or anything. Basically, when you graduate from high schools, you got all these places that are shoving credit card offers in your face, and you start out life in debt. You have to
Yep.
pay for an education that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's all could be free on digitally on the internet. I mean, even there, you don't even have to say cost of books or anything anymore because they could all be done digitally.
Yep.
And so they start you out in debt. So they start you out a slave, basically. You know,
Keep you under their thumb.
yeah, right. And that's not how all of our peoples, regardless where we're from, used to live. Everything we needed, the earth provided. Everything.
And we
You
took care
know,
of one another,
right,
which
right.
you don't see a lot of that anymore.
I'm
You don't
starting to
see.
see that coming back, though. That's my whole point. The younger generations, they're bringing all that back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen it in some places where there's like a community like stuff. One of the places I travel out east, it's all non-native, but they all live in a community, and they built like one large community home. You
Hmm.
know, they all share the same washer and dryer and do the stuff there. And they split that cost, other than everybody living on their own. You know,
Yep.
and having to bear the burden of them costs. That was something how our people live.
Yep.
We lived community style,
Yep.
and we all lived on communal land. Now, I hate to use a word that everybody, from, in our older generations to up to now have been in fear of is communists.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
were communal. There was nobody who was poor. There was nobody who went without. I think it was Geronimo. Geronimo, he there was an account where he was traveling along, where this is after the wars and everything, and been taken captive and kind of put on display places and stuff and paid a few dollars to do things. He'd give his money to some of the people, non-native people he'd seen because they were so poor. And he could not believe that this growing, mighty, strong country could not take care of its poor people,
Right.
because that was not a way that our people lived. Nobody went without. We lived all communal. The Dawes Act back in the early 1900s, I believe, late 1800s, basically split up all reservation lands to the heads of households of the reservation. So you go live over here, you go live over here, you go live over there. Then you all basically just worry about yourselves. Don't cause no trouble. Take care of yourselves. The heck with everybody else. And that's how it that's part of, that intergenerational trauma, that, we didn't share cornfields in common. We didn't share our farming in common anymore. We're becoming individual families and not a community. If this family's crop failed over there, well, that's just tough. I need for me and my family over here, kind of thing. And that's how it's been. A lot of people don't understand Native American culture, and some may assume, like with Rez here and myself, that all our people are just like us back home. And they're not.
Yep.
You know, we're not
Sorry
all the
about
same.
that.
I was saying that some people, like to assume that all Native Americans, like our tribe, they think that they're all just like me and you.
Right.
They want to come visit and stuff. And I actually kind of sometimes try to avoid having people come to the reservation, you know,
Right.
because of some of the trauma that's come down the lines and stuff, and how we treat each other, and we don't treat each other very well. We're still struggling with that intergenerational trauma and trying to fix that, trying to recognize it and rectify it. But that intergenerational trauma goes and cultural trauma goes through all walks of life, all races and such, that we all need to figure out, okay, what am I doing? What am I projecting onto my children that I really shouldn't do? You know, and the old saying is like, well, if it was good enough for me, it's good for them. Maybe it's not. Maybe it isn't, you know beating your children with broomsticks and leather and stuff like that out that came down from the mission schools. Our people didn't do that. We had different ways of handling our kids, but that's how a lot of people do it. Not just natives, all kinds of people, because that's how their parents were brought up, and that's how their parents were brought up, and so forth, all the way back to a time where somebody put that on your people. It's like a curse, a demon that's attached to your people. And so a lot of healing needs to come, a lot of recognition, not just the white buffalo calf prophecy for everybody else and natives, but especially for Native Americans. A lot of our people, we got to realize we got to get back to our indigenous ways before the colonized mindset came upon. To take care of yourself, do what you got to do for your own family. To hell with anybody else. Don't cause no trouble, or you're next, kind of thing. You know, you have to. Everybody out there is our family, and that's part of this prophecy and being born. That miracle, being born to a non-native family, just justifies that it's for us all. It's for everybody. You know, and so the indigenous teachings that most of us carry are not for indigenous people only. They are for human beings to be human beings, to be a part of this grand ecosystem of the earth and universe, you know, and not to look upon ourselves or our own kind as something more special or higher above anything else. Nothing. There is nothing in this universe that is completely worthless. And I understand that through my own ceremonies and journeys. that each speck of sand has value, you know.
Yep.
So the white buffalo calf prophecy teachings, a lot of those teachings, like I said, they went to the Lakota people and for their ways. But the important thing is that they were given their indigenous teachings as for human beings, how to live together in peace and health and in a sacred way in their family, their community, everyone, their outside communities. That's what it was for. And so the sorry, the message now is that we need to get back to those ways, you know,
And by
about
going back, we're going forward.
going back or going forward, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that is the important thing to remember too, because nothing in this universe, like technology, is never going to go backwards. It won't reverse. Any type of moving forward, progression, ascension, progress doesn't go backwards necessarily, but we can bring those teachings from the back from way back when into the modern world, into our current reality, and help us grow from there. And like you
That's
said, intergenerational trauma, and I didn't grow up native, so but there's certainly plenty of intergenerational trauma to go around. And it really comes down to us kind of as individuals to decide, I'm not going to raise my family the way I was raised. And that's across the board too. The ceremonies, certainly, I believe the ceremonies can help with that. I also believe that there are some ceremonies that, not to call out religion, but in some religions, spare the rod, spoil the child kind of stuff, that just promotes child abuse. And it doesn't matter what the ethnic background is.
mhm,
Yep.
No. So I
right.
agree with you, though, bringing those ceremonies forward, because very few people, at least very few modern people, could just like walk away from modern life and go live in the woods and survive.
Right,
I can.
right.
I'd love
I
to.
could too, actually. I could do that. But a lot of people can't. A lot of people wouldn't be able to do that because they
But
don't have the skill set.
we were actually, and we were never really meant to be that way.
No.
That's why indigenous, in all indigenous histories, we were all communities.
Yep.
Nobody said, "I'm gonna take my family and go live way the heck out, the hell with everybody else."
Yeah.
And that comes with another teachings, where the animals kind of kicked us out of the wilderness. So
Yeah.
we're about to live with ourselves and learn how to live amongst ourselves, where we could do that. But that was never I think I feel was an intention that any of us were to be separate, to be go out and just be alone. Who are we without the help of our neighbors and our families and all of that? We become stronger community, you
Yeah.
know. Um, I've always had them. I mean, I'm one of them survival nuts too, and I like to go out and I make fire just by walking out in the woods with no matches and stuff, just see if I can do it, and everything, and find forageable foods and stuff like that. But and those are good things to have if you ever get caught out alone.
Yeah.
But we're
Yep.
meant to live as communities and rely on one another, not harm one another.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
In addition to the younger generations, I'm starting to see more older people like creating tiny home communities, where they have like a communal area. Everyone has their own home, but they're like in an area where they have the communal areas and their own sleeping spaces, which of course makes sense because we're all not going to puppy pile. We're just not all built that way. But,
Yeah,
there's
have some privacy. Yeah.
but I'm seeing more of that with older communities too, where they're saying, I am retiring on what used to support me and no longer does. So we're going to create new ways of creating community. And, some of that's bringing ceremony into it, different ceremonies from different cultures or whatever, but sharing communal meals and sharing, like you said, washing machines and dryers and all of that, and sharing that communal space and still having that, and also having time for quiet contemplation or meditation or prayer or whatever as well. And I
right,
think it's beautiful that humans are finally kind of circling around to we don't always have to have the biggest and the best to be happy.
right, right,
Exactly.
right. Yeah, and ceremony, sometimes it scares people when you say ceremony. Just showing respect is ceremony. It's a
Hmm.
ceremony, sacred way. You know, um, showing respect to other things. Beyond yourself. I
Hmm.
guess could be a ceremony. You know,
Right.
it's not all. I mean, I'm sure some people think of like witch doctors in a grass skirt and a bone to their nose, doing ceremony. And that's not necessarily what we mean by ceremony, but
I
it's
think a lot of people think a powwow is ceremony. Like that's how you do a Native American ceremony. People who are not Native is what I'm talking about. Like when they think
yeah,
of a Native ceremony, they think of a powwow. They don't
right.
necessarily think of, prayer and lighting sweetgrass or, they don't necessarily think of that.
No, no, no. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, and that's where it takes people, that need to that know the difference to start speaking up and sharing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you're somebody who does that, especially if you belong to a Native American community uh, today, because it's such a sad thing that like I said, when somebody goes against the grain of authority or against what the norm is, they're singled out and attacked in whether verbal, even physical, some ways and stuff. Of going against, like, how dare you do that, or say that, or we don't believe that way. Why are you saying that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And so it's hard. There's times I remember where a lot of the ceremony, some of the ceremonies that we do see today are being done more out in the open. You didn't have to hide. One of my mentors, when he was a kid, he used to have to sit in a ditch outside one of these back roads way off in the well, not off the reservation, but way off from the communal living area to watch to see if any cars would come. He had to be the lookout, and he wasn't looking out for white people. He was looking out for other people from the reservation who might come and cause a big stink. You see this. I mean, if anybody listening out here knows any native peoples from reservations and stuff, if you speak about some of this stuff with them, they're going to totally understand what you mean. It happens in every native community. You
Hmm.
know, Bobby's aunt was considered a witch 30, 40 years ago because she
Yep.
went against the grain. She wasn't a Bible thumping, get in line, do as you're told type of person. She was a strong woman too. I thought she was cool as hell. Thought
She
she was
was
really awesome. She was.
one of the
But
most traditional women I've ever known.
yeah,
She would res hop. She would go around, learn teachings from all over Indian country, and try to live the best she could along them teachings while
yeah,
still being herself.
right, right. And so now, especially back then, and I commend her for the balls she had, and the strength she had to put up with it, you know, because I know for myself, it's hard, and there's a lot of people, good, spiritual people that could do so much for community and for the world who will not speak out because they don't want to go through some of the shit that I'm going through. They see what's going on, and it's sad because that intergenerational trauma tells them, shut your mouth, you're next, you know. But that doesn't faze me. It's like, no, no. They say, like we were talking, I don't know if I said with you guys, that there's a saying that most people knows, don't cast your pearls before swine. You know, I'm sure you guys have heard that before.
Hmm.
It's like, well, what does that mean? Well, your pearls are these beautiful, sacred things you hold of high value. And why would you put that in front of swine, which are pigs? Because pigs don't know the difference. They'll just trample over them and defecate on them. They don't know no better. You can't always hate the pigs either because they're swine, you know.
They are what they are. Yeah.
Yeah, and when that happens, you get upset, get angry, or all these negative feelings. But I feel that the pearls that I have and the things I've done for ceremonially on the spirit world, the red road, and such and teachings that I've gotten from many, many, many good people, native and non-native, that my pearls are so shiny, so big that I can cast them, and there's no swine that can trample them. You know, they can't. They can try, but it's not going to ruin anything. You know, and so it's time for people if they can find that inner strength and realize that you're going to have a lot of opposition, and I actually welcome opposition because my opposition is what helps give me strength. If I never had anybody say anything bad about me, and then all of a sudden, all these years later, somebody says one little thing and just go, "Oh my God, what do you mean?" kind of thing.
Yeah.
Snowflake, I guess they call it. So if you haven't grown in strength, you're gonna have a hard time going up against all of the stones that are gonna be thrown at you. And so I like to feel that you gotta be that rock that the others break themselves upon, not the other way around. As long as you're standing in virtue.
Right.
Don't be the rock for with some bullshit, because you yourself know it's bullshit and you're gonna crumble eventually anyway.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have that strong foundation. You
Right.
have to be able to say, I'm going to speak. I knew once I started sharing, especially sharing outside the reservation, that I was going to get a lot of shit. And I did. I still do. And the thing is that they don't realize that it only makes me stronger. It only helps. You know, um, I go to other Native communities. Well, I'll talk to this situation. My adoptive niece went to Hawaii, and she met some actual Hawaiian people, the real Hawaiian people. And I was like, wow, I was like, that is so cool. 'Cause I knew I was going to come out there, and I was like, I'd like to meet some of them. I said, but I don't want to meet no director of cultural affairs. I don't want to meet no tribal chief or president or any kind of shit like that. I said, you know how like the people are who live in our housing here? It's like those are the people I want to meet. Those are the real people.
The real
I'm not
people, yeah.
polished up bullshit version, presented to me. I want to hear what the real people have to say. And they're real people. She's I just so happen to be dating one. Yeah, and he's that way. And he was, and it was amazing to go there and see the same dynamics that happened to us is happening to them too. You know, who's got the right cultural is who's speaking the right language, who's doing this and that. It's all going, it's all going on there. So, this healing has to go, in many different cultures, many different places. Like I said, even this culture, this of intergenerational trauma and how we treat each other, that still goes in like in most people's workspaces. Follow the authority and don't you dare go against the grain. And don't you speak
Yeah.
up if somebody else gets screwed because you're next. You can't live that way. That's not a healthy way of living. All that
Yeah.
does is cause more divide amongst the people. Like I said, maybe the white buffalo calf coming is for us to see that there is no us and there's only us. All of us. All us people, us animals, us plants, us waters, us air, us earth, all of us. That's
That
all
we're
Right.
go
all
with that.
one.
Right.
Right. I agree. I agree completely. And I am again so grateful to see that the younger generations are leaning more towards that, leaning more towards even if it's not official ceremony, but leading more towards, I've talked to a number of women in their 20s who are like, yeah, I just want a cup of tea and a good book. Thanks. you know,
Yeah.
and that is vastly different than my generation was in our 20s.
Yeah.
So,
And you're
Yeah.
so right. It just had came to mind that what you're saying, a lot of natives are doing the same thing too.
mhm,
Because you have to deal with so much BS with the tribal government, and how they want things run and looked at acknowledged by. There's a lot. I mean, I didn't realize it, but there's a lot of non-native nonprofit organizations springing up to help do the things that they want to share with people, rather than having to try to orchestrate it through your tribal council and government. Because when you do it there, then it all just changes. Not the people that should be in place and doing it aren't the people who are in place and doing it. People probably don't even care about the stuff or put in that place. So you have to see a lot of people bucking, the authority, because the
Hmm.
authority is not working in our favor.
Right.
So see a lot of you see a lot of native nonprofit organizations now springing up, doing the work that our tribes should be doing and aren't. If it ain't got nothing to do with putting up a casino or getting money or getting this or getting that to them, they don't want nothing to do with it. It seems. It seems. You know, I don't want to say that's it. I'll just say it seems.
Don't want to get you
So
in too much trouble.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm already carrying quite a bit, but you know. But those things, like you said, the message carriers, the light work, uh, you got to keep doing it, and you're either built for it or you're not.
Hmm.
You will be someday, but you got to look at your oppressors as people who are going to help strengthen you. And if you need strength, if you talk to your personal trainer, you say, I need strength. Okay, I'm going to put you through a tremendous workout to make you stronger, you know, which
And
I
you're
kind
not
of,
going to like it. You're just
yeah,
not going to like it.
right. There's nothing to love about it. Growth opportunities suck, but they're
Yes,
good in the end, you
yes,
know,
I
Yeah.
and
agree.
you got to look at it that way. It's like, okay, these people are doing this or saying this. How is that bad medicine going to affect me? Is it going to make me say, all right, screw it, I'm not going to do it no more? To heck with everybody. Then it worked. What they threw at me worked.
Right.
No, that's not going to happen to me. There's too many people that need it. The silent side of the majority need it. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, the silent side of the majority is very afraid, because of what the people who have the biggest mouths and the accusations and the racism and all that negative stuff are the ones who get the floor. You know, they're the only ones speaking, so they're afraid. So all you light workers, you just got to remember, they're there to shape. How are they going to affect you? Because they will, one way or another. It's going to be positive or negative.
Hmm.
It's your choice.
Yep, exactly. Sean, I want to thank you so much. This has been a great conversation, and I think it's been a really relevant conversation to modern society across the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for that and for the sharing the wisdom and the stories.
Well, I have to thank you both also for putting stuff like this out there that needs to be heard and shared.
We are definitely going to have you back on again. Thank
Oh yeah.
you.
As
There's
far as
lots
I'm
more
concerned,
stories to share.
Hopefully more
there's
come.
there's an open door for you anytime, my brother.
Right,
Oh,
right. And bringing back the importance of storytelling, I think, is important too. There's so much that we can learn through stories that,
Yeah.
intelligence just doesn't come just in math books. You know, there there's a lot of wisdom in the stories that are shared multiculturally, and I appreciate the storytellers. I'm so grateful. I know so many storytellers, and you're one of them who tells the stories that we need to hear.
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
All
We're
right.
all doing good work here. We're all doing good work here.
Yep, we sure are. All right. Well, thanks again, Sean, and everybody else. Press the subscribe button, ring that bell, get notifications of when we're on again. If you've seen the show before, you know that we have a lot of really amazing guests that come onto this show, and I'm looking forward to doing more of this. I feel like I spend my life in front of a camera at this point, but it's okay. It's all right because, the words are getting out and the stories and the information. So, Sean, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Oh, wow. Um, Hmm. I guess
Hmm.
you can get a hold of me through my email.
Okay.
Uh, I'll spell it for you. It's AHKOHEKA@yahoo.com.
Awesome. Awesome. In case anyone wants to hear some of your fabulous stories. All right, everyone. Rez, any last words?
No, I think we got everything summed up pretty nicely. A nice little bow tie on it. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Excellent. All right, everyone. Take care.